Pickle! Let's talk a little bit about college football. The college football weekend has come and gone. We had some big-time questions across the state of Texas as far as what was going to happen in our burning questions segment. Now we're going to go back and answer those questions. So, Pickle, where are we starting?
Let's start with the SEC. Well, kind of SEC. These late-season non-conference SEC pay games are weird, right? And if you missed it, they just absolutely mollywopped Prairie View A&M 52-3.
Well, no, here's the one thing I will say. And you're going to sound this is going to sound like very weird, but Prairie View A&M's pretty good. Like for an FCS team. Now A&M is a top 15 college FBS team, and even if they're taking on a pretty good FCS team, they did what they should do to them. It was a no contest. They ran away from 52-3. It was not even really that close. But yeah, it was weird. I shout out to Texas A&M though. They filmed and put out on social media the entire Prairie View band performance.
Nice.
Because from what I understand, a lot of the Aggie fans are like, well, first of all, it was like senior day, so they want to go out to that. But then also Aggie fans are like, we got to go because we got to see the Prairie View band because the Prairie View band rules.
Yes.
Anyway, not particularly interesting in this game. A&M at a 60% success rate in non-garbage time, which is kind of ludicrous. Anyway, A&M rolls. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, let's go to what percentage chance do you give SMU of ruining Cincinnati's perfect season? Well, with a 48-14, I mean, just blistering loss up there. I would say -7.
Yeah. So here's the issue for SMU. They needed to start hot, and they started. What's the opposite of hot?
Super cold.
That's super cold. And Cincinnati
frozen.
Cincinnati did kind of like what SMU's done to a lot of teams, which is just like punch them in the mouth and like break their will.
Yeah.
And SMU had no response.
Make them dig a hole that they can't get themselves out of.
It was 48-14, and it was pretty ugly. Desmond Ridder went off. This was the game that whatever Luke Fickell was selling to his team, he said, guys, we need some style points. They got some style points.
Right.
They beat a good SMU team, because I still think SMU's a pretty good team. But they beat a good SMU team, and they thumped them.
Yeah, I think it got to the point where our buddy Joseph Hoyt over there at the Dallas Morning News was like, I'll tweet after the game's
sacked
over.
Him sacked Tanner Mordecai 3 times. They could not get anything going. The running game was actually okay, but then Tanner Mordecai was under pressure the whole game and had probably his worst game of the year. He only threw for 66 yards in non-garbage time.
Yeah, that's rough.
Anyway, there you go. 0% chance is the final answer there. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, we go to the Big 12, where things almost got dicey in Fort Worth. Is TCU closer to what we saw against Baylor or against OSU? And they barely squeak it out, 31-28 over the Jayhawks of Kansas.
So here's the thing, and maybe we should have seen this coming when they fired Gary Patterson, who is a defensive genius. But the last couple of weeks, the defense, woof. It had not been good all year long, but it's taken a big step backwards. I mean, they gave up 52% success rate to Kansas.
Yeah.
Now, Kansas' offense has obviously figured something out. They've hung 80-something points the last couple of weeks. That's impressive, but you shouldn't be doing that. Now, look, the name of the game is to win, and that's what they did. I think they got a really impressive game from Kendre Miller and Max Duggan. Both, I think, really put on the cape. Max Duggan, especially on the ground. They spread the ball around to a number of guys. They ran the ball really effectively, and that was what ultimately held them in the game. This was a really bizarre game. But TCU won, and they don't ask you how; they ask you how many. And they did it. They, I don't know. This was a bizarre game, and if you're asking the question, they're obviously closer to what they were against Oklahoma State than they were against Baylor. But a win's a win, and you put it in the left-hand column. What's next, Pickle?
Speaking of Oklahoma State there, the question was, make a play on the line. Oklahoma State was favored by 10 at Tech, and, well, that line stuck plus some. 23-0 Tech gets shut out against the Pokes.
Yeah, it's been a minute since Tech's been shut out, especially at home. Give a lot of credit. Oklahoma State's got a legit defense. That defense is legit. But, obviously, and they completely swallowed whole Texas Tech. Tech was held under 100 yards total offense, okay? And maybe what we saw, look, this is now twice that a coach has been fired. They have made a change at quarterback, and the quarterback has had one great game and then spiraled.
Yep.
both against Oklahoma State, mind you.
Yeah.
Right? Because for TCU, if Chandler Morris comes in, sparks into a big win over Baylor, then next week gets absolutely swallowed by Oklahoma State.
Yep.
With Tech, Donovan Smith steps in after they fire Matt Wells.
They go bowl eligible.
They get bowl eligible by beating Iowa State, and then
he
shut out. Craters against there. Now, I'm glad they got Barron Morton a little bit of run. I'm glad he got in and got to make a little bit of plays. He went 1 for 3. But, this was an ugly, ugly game. The defense, I thought, actually played okay. I don't think they embarrassed themselves. They most especially were able to hold down the running game. Spencer Sanders made basically a couple plays. That was the difference. But, look, Texas Tech, the offense cratered, and that's
you're still going bowling, you're waiting for the new coach. So it's like, okay,
the season
this is a waiting game.
The season is what it is at this point, right? What's next?
Up next, the over/under on basically 500 total yards for Coastal, and this was I didn't watch this game.
Me either. I'm not.
But
punishment.
I was interested in the score. I'm assuming it was mostly garbage time, but 35-21 against Coastal isn't.
It was
terrible.
Not. It was 14-14 at halftime.
Yeah.
It was 14-14 at halftime. Now, as far as the over/under is concerned.
Oh, no. What?
I'm so good at this.
Oh,
do you know how many yards Coastal Carolina had?
What, like 501?
498.
Oh, man. Wow. Okay. I don't give you credit often. That's impressive.
That's pretty good.
That was pretty good.
Coastal Carolina pulled away late in this game. This game was very dicey. Give a lot of credit to Texas State. One of the we don't like to use the Q word around here, but there is a possibility that teams like this could quit. They very clearly didn't quit, and I think that's a testament to what they're doing. They're playing a team that was overmatching them, but Coastal Carolina's a good team. Obviously, they rang up nearly 500 yards total offense, but not 500 yards total offense. And,
did you take the over or the under? I can't remember. We need to go back. Because if you took the under on that and you set the line perfectly, that's pretty stinking impressive.
I probably took the over.
Yeah, I was going to say, go buy a lotto ticket.
Anyway, give a lot of credit to Texas State for hanging in against a team that's much better than them, but they're just playing out of the string at this point. And now all eyes are going to be on whether or not they keep Jake Spavital around for next year. So it'll be interesting to watch. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, let's go back to the AAC here. Now, Houston has clinched a spot in the AAC title game. That was decided before this game was ever even played, but how did it affect this game? Well, they did what they needed to. 31-13 over a Memphis team that sounds like the score it should have been.
There's a very scary injury in this game. Donovan Mooten went down and was down for a long time. Had to be carted off. All reports are that he's going to be okay, which is obviously great. That kind of colored a lot of this game, but I'll tell you that Houston did not look like a team with nothing to play for. They looked like a team. They look like a team that's been bodied by Memphis before and wanted a little bit of revenge.
Yep.
I thought they played really well. I think Clayton Toon's been excellent. I think Alton McCaskill is excellent as well.
He's the future.
He's the future. This whole and the defense really made a bad quarterback situation there at Memphis look bad, and that's what they need to do. They got after him. They had 2 sacks. They kind of pressured him. Made him had him on the run most of this game. This is an impressive win. This is a thorough win for Houston. Look, are there things they can work on? Yeah, they took a ton of penalties in this game, so clean that up. But overall, for Houston in a game that functionally didn't mean anything. Yeah, I think that's pretty darn good. No notes really there. So good job, Houston. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, it was our small school game of the week. We went to Division III. What's the outlook for UMHB as the Division III playoff kicks off? And I mean, hey, they got their win. It was very low scoring, 13-3 over Trinity.
But that's also the way that they roll.
Well,
that's
absolutely.
That's Pete Fredenberg football. It's like,
ground
cool.
and pound.
Yeah, we're gonna hold you down and we're gonna get our offense where we need it, and that's the end of it. Now they get Birmingham Southern. They get that noon on. What's the 27th? Is that Friday or Saturday? Saturday. Noon on Saturday. They get Birmingham Southern. But yeah, look, I think that they are. I think they've got to be feeling pretty good about where they're heading, and we're gonna find out. But yeah, this is a big game this week against Birmingham Southern, but good step in the right direction. And at that point, they're talking semifinals, and then we'll see what happens.
Keep rolling.
Yep. What's next?
Up next. Is North Texas going to mess around and make a bowl game in a 49-7 best showing they've had all year?
Now, okay. Yes.
FIU is terrible.
FIU is terrible.
But
FIU
they don't typically go on the road and win, ever.
FIU is in tatters. Like, they have claimed to being, I don't know if they're the worst team, but they might be the worst program in the country right now.
Yeah.
It's all bad right there. It's like there's a lot of drama going on in the athletic department. It's all very bad. But that said, look, they went out there and they smushed them.
Yeah.
I mean, they absolutely
It was like
24-0
in the first quarter, and
I
literally thought I read the score wrong when I looked at it.
No, this game was over, and they got out in a garbage time, and it was, they went out there and they dominated. And we haven't seen that. Like, we haven't seen them play a bad team, because they've played plenty of bad teams, and they haven't dominated them like this. That's impressive. Now, are they going to mess around and make a bowl?
They got to do the unthinkable this weekend.
They got to beat UTSA.
Which I can tell you that I was talking to someone from UTSA that's coming up for the game, and they were like they were having trouble finding tickets. So I think that Apogee's going to be rolling this Saturday.
I think it will be. I would put them as pretty big underdogs to make a bowl, but you never know. And they're certainly playing their best football right now. So Seth Luttrell may be trying to save his job there. So
no
interesting.
Doubt.
What's next?
All right, another disappointment by Texas. Who has to step up for the Longhorns to make the bowl game, and they're not going to do it. 31-23, West by God, Virginia knocks them out of any possibility of getting a bowl game.
Yes, the season's over for them. I mean, not functionally, but functionally, it's over.
They play Kansas State, and
as
then
far
it's
as
over.
the guys who needed to step up, right? I thought that Rashawn Johnson played well. One of the things that I think is interesting, and Steve Sarkisian mentioned in his post-game press conference, we mentioned Xavier Worthy. He had a nice game. He continues to be a bright spot for this team. But they could not get the ball to Jordan Whittington. And I know that was a guy that we mentioned offensively that they really need to step up. Keelan Robinson, I thought, had a really nice game. But overall, the quarterback situation continues to be a mess. I'll be honest. And we'll have a whole offseason to talk about this. I think Texas needs to look at the transfer portal for a quarterback.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think I know that has been the kind of thing that Texas fans don't want to think about. But the bottom line of it is, if you want to have a quarterback that can step up and step into a situation and play, I don't know if he's on the roster right now.
No.
And then you're going to ask, like, what, a freshman to come in? That just doesn't seem sustainable.
Yeah.
So,
the biggest win that they have had is that Bijan said he wasn't leaving. Of course, that could always change, but that's the biggest win that they've had in Chex Notes 5 weeks.
I think they've got to look at the
I do too.
For quarterback. Yeah. Anyway, what's next?
Up next, back to Conference USA we go. Who needs this win more, Rice or UTEP? And it was the Miners, 38-28, taking down the Rice Owls.
Yeah, got a big win. This game was super tight into the fourth quarter, and then they were able to kind of pull away and win it late. Give a lot of credit to Rice. I think they had stomach for the fight in this game. They actually threw the ball relatively well with Jake Constantine, who stepped in a big way. But Gavin Hardison went nuts in this game. Gavin
really
Hardison
did.
was great. Ronald Awatt had a great game. We mentioned yesterday how good Jacob Cowing is. They've been great. And for UTEP, that really solidifies. Now they're at 7 wins. They'll get a bowl bid.
Yep.
Like, they weren't 6 wins, especially if you're super cold and you're losing. Like, you start 6-1 and then you lose 5
everything.
in a row.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe they'll find a reason to hold you out. But 7 wins, that feels good. For Rice, this is disappointing. They're going to need to try to save some face this week against Louisiana Tech, because another year at 3-9 could be difficult. What's next, Pickle?
And finally, it was the game of the weekend, no doubt about this. Is it the biggest game in UTSA history? And as time expires, 34-31, they take down UAB to secure the Western Conference title and to secure them hosting the Conference USA Championship coming up soon.
Unbelievable game.
So good.
Wild swings in this game. I thought that Bill Clark, the coach for UAB, who I think is a really good coach.
Yeah.
Boy, I thought he spit the bit in this game.
He did.
Because they had 4th.
And that's uncharacteristic for him.
They had 4th and 1 with UTSA, I believe, out of timeout. And all they needed to do was pick up that 1 yard, and they could run out the clock. And instead, he decides to take a delay of game and then punt. And then, sure enough, they go down the field in 77 yards and get the game-winning touchdown. Frank Harris was masterful in this game. They actually give UAB credit, they held Sincere McCormick in check basically better than anybody else has. But DeCorian Clark was unbelievable in this game. He made, especially that final drive, he made 2 or 3 big boy catches. He had one right down the sideline that's going to go down. Like, that's going to be like the drive for UTSA fans for a long time. He made big boy throw catches. And then Oscar Cardenas came up with the big, like the tip drill catch in the end zone. And
and it was nice. Time. I mean, for that specific drive showed too, like, it solidified in my mind that, like, we went into the season thinking, okay, UTSA has Sincere McCormick, and it's like they've got a couple other people that could step up. Like, they really do have the depth that it takes to go on and win the conference championship.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk a lot about that pass from Frank Harris to Oscar Cardenas, but I really think it was 2nd and 4. There's like a minute left. 2nd and 4 on the UAB 43, and he hits DeCorian Clark for that 33-yard pass that gets him down to the 10 for a first down, and that's the moment that you're like, oh my God, like, they're in the red zone, they're gonna have a couple of shots at the end zone. That was the biggest play in my mind in the game, and yeah, I mean, it's simply remarkable what's happening there at UTSA. They're gonna be favored this week. I don't even know who's gonna win CUSA East. Do you know?
Oh, gosh.
Let's see. I've been so focused on CUSA West, I haven't even looked. CUSA East, according to the Google machine, it looks like it's going to be Western? FAU or FAU. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait. It's football. Yeah. That is wrong. That is
wrong. It's WKU.
WKU. Western. Is it going to be Western
6
Kentucky?
and 1.
Going to be Western Kentucky?
Because so it'll be. That has to be right. Yeah, 2021. Yep.
It'll
because
be
their only loss
Kentucky.
is to UTSA,
which was a tough game.
Yeah.
But they would get them at home this time in a rematch. So,
you'd have to beat them twice.
But for UTSA, what a remarkable season, and the best could be yet to come. They'll be favored in the rest of their regular season.
Well, they're 7 and 4. They're 6 and 1 in conference. There you go.
So, anyway, that's burning questions.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.